so happy? Why am I so happy? I'm talking about fucking apparently I'm talking about... Apparently I'm talking in tongues. Wonderful. Hey, what's up fellow travelers? Welcome back. I really hope you guys can see everything okay, because it's a pretty dreary, miserable day, so getting the lighting right for this has not been easy. I kind of feel like Mother Nature was like, that's what you're talking about today. Here, let me add to the mood. Because today, we're going toe-to-toe with the Reaper, and I'm gonna shine a light on those scenes that so many of us dread to think about. Death scenes are a challenging topic for so many writers to handle because, let's face it, we get attached to our characters. It feels wrong. It feels like a betrayal to kill them. Maybe you're not sure if or when or who you should kill. Maybe you've yet to embrace what a death scene can actually do for your story. But by the end of this video, I guarantee you, I'm going to show you the path to using this incredibly powerful, dark tool of the storyteller. Death scenes are something that I never really struggled with myself. Maybe that's because I'm a heartless bastard, or maybe it's because I knew who wasn't going to make it to the end of my novel before I even got started. Knowing this ahead of time really helps you set up your characters and the death scene perfectly, with significant emotional weight, consequences, and aftermath to contend with. My ability to portray an emotional death scene is something that I'm pretty goddamn proud of. Beep beep. And I've hurt so many readers with these scenes, I'm kinda surprised I haven't received any death threats myself. Yet. Killing characters is not something you should shy away from. It is an incredibly powerful tool for the storyteller and the reader alike. By the end of this video, I'll have you orchestrating your death scenes like the Reaper himself, setting them up and watching the dominoes fall. If you open yourself to it, this is a truly exhilarating process which will teach you a shitload about yourself as a writer. And that goes doubly for those brave enough to kill a character who's not a villain. You'll establish a deeper connection with your characters than you ever imagined possible, and hone your storytelling craft to the next level. Oh, and if that wasn't enough, stick around until the end of the video where we'll be going over some tips for how you can kill your main character. Okay, first up we have purpose. Guys, you've got to make sure there is a damn good reason for this death scene. And no, shock factor or just to piss off your readers and make them sad or angry for the sake of it, those aren't good enough reasons. We've got to be adding value to the story with this death scene, not just torturing our readers for no damn reason. We want to be driving the plot forward, creating realism or emphasizing the themes of our novel. Maybe we're fleshing out characters' life experience, like how Uncle Ben's death motivated Spidey to become a hero. Whatever the purpose is, make sure you're never crafting a death scene to remove an extraneous character. Seriously, you guys. If the character is pointless, they don't belong in your novel at all. Get rid of them. Now this is very different from introducing a character specifically to die. That's actually a really useful tool that I strongly suggest you consider. Killing a character you've realised you don't need is just lazy. Go back through your novel and cut them the shit out of there, unless their death genuinely does serve a purpose. But even in this case, they've typically been introduced in order to die, which as we've covered, is okay. Maybe their death serves as an inciting incident for a war, or to motivate a character into action. Whatever the purpose behind your death scene, make sure you understand each and every character involved intimately. If you're not sure whether or not you've got a good enough understanding of your characters, check out my video series on creating believable characters for your novel. You'll find the links in the description below, and that should really help you get started with this. Next up is planning. Seriously guys, plan this shit ahead of time. True, the longer you spend with a character, the more emotionally invested you're likely to be. False. Deciding to kill a character on a whim makes the whole process so much easier. Seriously. Whoever came up with that needs a fucking reality check. Planning is super useful. It will help you distance yourself so that when the time comes to kill these characters, it doesn't hurt as much. And when those pangs of guilt do strike, just remind yourself that the death scene serves a greater purpose to your story. Also, these are characters. They're fictional, not real. Ouch! The main death scene that I'm hated for in my novel, The Nightmare's Truth, I knew was coming miles away, but the how, the why, and the when of it, they came as natural parts of the writing flow. I guess what I'm trying to say here is, you don't need to plan out every intricate detail, but just make sure that you know that the death is coming. You can see it on the horizon. Planning out deaths in advance will really help you understand ramifications, character importance, and relationship to others. Basically, it'll help you flesh your world the fuck out. So do it, right now, okay? Good. The next thing we need to consider is what kind of character is dying. Killing antagonists is typically a lot easier work than killing your protags, but you should always consider your reader's point of view. Being the creator, you can kill whoever the hell you want, whenever you damn well please. But don't fall into the cliche trap of main character kills antagonist, the end. No, killing a protag, on the other hand, can be messy work. Your audience is rooting for them, but don't let that stop you if this is what your story needs. Consider Game of Thrones as an example. How emotionally invested the fans are, and how crushed they get whenever a protag snuffs it. It's a really powerful tool that you should not overlook. After all, we all remember the first time we witnessed the Red Wedding. Even Joffrey's wedding evoked humongous emotion from the fans because of the audience's involvement. Incidentally, this is a fantastic example of how you can set up an antagonist's death. We'll come back to some of these points soon when we tackle the most challenging death scene any storyteller can face, killing the main character. Okay, now we have the foundations laid, it's time to just dive in. We can't avoid this any longer, guys. How's it gonna happen? A messy, detailed, gory approach to the death scene is gonna take a shit ton of research to pull off accurately. You're gonna have to consider things like bleed out time, for example, whereas compared to someone's neck snapping, that's a fairly immediate gone. So which is it gonna be? Quick and clean, or less so? The choice is up to you, but just make sure that whichever path you go down, it fits the theme of your novel. If the scene calls for a gruesome, gory death, then go for it. Don't hide from it. As I've discussed in a previous video on fight scenes, you've got to fly with your research here, guys. Make sure the death scene is appropriate given the time and setting. Are medieval weapons used, or are we talking some space age sci-fi shit? Whichever path you choose to make this happen, just be sure to be as realistic as possible, while also not weighing down your writing with all the research that you've done. Remember, you need to know everything. The audience, they just want to be entertained. Okay, we did it. I've got a weight in my stomach. I've got a lump in my throat. That means it's time to deal with the fallout. You gotta see a death scene like a pebble hitting the water. There are always going to be ripples that you need to address. Consider your other characters' relationships to the deceased. Their reactions in the wake of the death scene are gonna vary dramatically depending on those relationships and their life experiences. And if you find yourself at all unsure of how a survivor would respond to these events, then you've gotta go check out my series on creating believable characters. It's gonna help you bridge those gaps. We need to know if our survivors are going to close up and retreat, or are they gonna swear blind, bloody vengeance on whoever took this person from them. Maybe they're going to be paralyzed with doubt, self-loathing, or disgust, or maybe they're going to be goaded by a twisted, psychopathic urge to repeat their actions. Whatever these reactions are, you're going to want to make sure that you consider the point of view you're putting across to your audience. If you have, say, one good character kill another good character, there's a strong chance you're going to want to make sure you focus on connecting your audience to the survivor. Unless you've got some kind of grand sneaky scheme going on. Sounds epic, by the way. The most important thing to remember when dealing with the fallout is don't shy away from the emotion involved in it. You hated killing this character? It made you feel like a complete asshole? Good! Stop crying into your ice cream and use it. Give your readers a reason to care along with your survivors, and your story is gonna fucking thrive. Okay, now we are fully immersed in the Reaper's realm, it's time to talk about the most challenging death scene there is, killing your main character. Now I cannot stress this enough, you guys, this is not for everyone or for every genre. Twists like this work brilliantly in stories like Game of Thrones or other similar fantasies. Decidedly less so in adventure stories where they are just not expected. Look, I know we love the element of surprise, but don't sucker punch your readers too much. And definitely don't fly in the face of any message your writing is trying to convey. Always keep that and your audience at the forefront of your mind when making a big decision like this. It is a massive challenge to nail a main character's death scene. You can throw readers into states of complete disarray. Why, you heartless son of a bitch? Why? How can the story possibly continue? Look, don't avoid this type of death scene just because it's hard. If your story calls for it, you damn well better suck it up and write about it. Now, we're gonna follow similar steps to the ones we've already covered. Make sure your death scene serves a purpose, which is typically going to be an inciting incident for the surviving characters, like Ned Stark's was for his kids. Be sure to explore the fallout of the main character's death, which will aid in realism and giving the character a lasting presence beyond their death. And you damn sure better make certain you've covered every angle in your planning. How this is going to happen, why this is going to happen, who's going to take the reins of the point of view. Now, don't get too caught up thinking someone needs to fill the main character's shoes. Otherwise, you run the risk of some serious backlash. You're not my real mom, I hate you! Comic books can pull this off really well because it fits the theme that anyone can be a hero, but that doesn't mean it's gonna work for your story. Consider dispersing the role instead, Game of Thrones style. Now, bear in mind, you don't need a massive cast to do this. Vikings did a cracking job of passing the torch on from Ragnar to his sons. And even though we still miss the old legend, god damn, Ivar and co do a fucking awesome job of carrying that story forward. Arrow is another example I want to draw your attention to. They've done a brilliant job of shifting the focus to a team instead of just being all about Oliver. Now I know what you're thinking, Queen's not dead, but that fits perfectly with what I'm coming into now. Setting up the changeover is critical. I'm not talking blatant foreshadowing, but if you separate your stories, give other characters their time in the spotlight, this will aid shifting the focus and the changeover will feel so much more natural to your audience. The aim of the game here is to get your audience engaged with the other characters as much as they are with your main character. This will help avoid the feeling of, duh, the fuck else is there now then? Again, going back to Game of Thrones, Ned was clearly the main dude at the start, but they set up Jon and Daenerys' separate stories straight out of the gate. I've got a couple of bonus tips for the adventurous here as well. Consider killing your main character off before the end of the novel. This will help reinforce the fact that this is an intentional move, there is plenty more to come, and it's going to dial your reader's curiosity through the roof. And finally, think very carefully before you consider bringing a character back to life. Death scenes should carry significant weight, and you're going to lose that if your audience begins to expect a resurrection every time there's a death, a la Sam and Dean in Supernatural. Don't get me wrong here, I love Supernatural, but we all know what's going to happen when one of those brothers gets some fatal dose of trouble come their way. Of course, they make up for it by killing a shitload of people, and it sticks. So, you know, there's a balance, but still. As always guys, this is just what has worked for me, some tips that I felt might be useful to pass on, so I really hope this has helped you in some way. I find death scenes oddly thrilling to tackle, but once you understand their power and that one is needed, I promise you, you're gonna find a way to crush that beloved character. It's for the greater good. Your fictional buddy will forgive you. Probably. Did you do it? Congratulations! Now you can go cry in your ice cream again. Or buy a puppy. Or both. I'm not one to judge. I really hope this has been helpful for you guys and given you something you can take away and implement to do those death scenes the justice they deserve. As always, if you have any questions, comments or suggestions, please do hit me up in the comments section below or on social media at ldaltonauthor. And if you do use any of these tips, please do let me know how you get on. I'd love to hear from you. If this video has helped you or even just entertained you, please make sure that you smash that like button, hit subscribe and ding the bell so you never miss a new video. New vids are every Thursday, so make sure you join me. And of course, share this video with anyone you know who might benefit. Well, that is all from me for today. Thank you so much for your time. It has been a pleasure as always. Until next time guys, see you on the other side. What kind of character is are going to swear? That's not consequences and something else. This is definitely B-roll then, isn't it?